Okay folks, so this is going to be a very quick tutorial on something that we started at the very end of class today called space figures. No, it's not figures that are out in space. It's just another way to say a three-dimensional shape or a solid, okay? So we talked about this, you saw this in class today, and so we have a couple of ones that we're going to focus on for this lesson. We have prisms and we have a cylinder, okay? So ultimately, these are all pretty much in the same class. That's why we're doing them together. We have something called the bases, which are the parallel pieces of the prism, and they are going to be congruent. This one is called a triangular pyramid. Prism, excuse me, prism. Pyramids are later. This one is called a square prism. Okay. We can also call this one a cuboid, but I'm going to call it a square prism because the bases, these two things, right, are squares. This one's triangular because these two things are triangles. And this is called a hexagonal prism. And that's because these two bases are hexagons. The lateral area, or the area around the outside of it, are made up of of rectangles, okay? Then we have cylinders. I can draw a cylinder on its side, or I can draw a similar cylinder on its base. This is called a right cylinder, and it's the one that we always kind of see. There's also one called an oblique cylinder, and that means the height is kind of outside of the cylinder, and we'll talk much more about that in class. All right, so we ended with looking at something called a net, right? And the net is going to help us be able to figure out something called the surface area of the three-dimensional shape or of the cylinder. And basically, let's remember that the surface area is what we would wrap surface area is almost like how much paint do we need to paint all the surfaces of this solid, all right? So painting or wrapping or something like that, we're going to look for how to find the area of those. And the greatest thing about the nets is that if we can identify the net, it's pretty easy to get the area because we just take all the pieces of the net and add them up, and that's called the surface area. This one is a triangular prism, so that would be called the surface area too. So we have this kind of understanding of surface area. And we talked about the faces of a prism and the faces of a cylinder. So remember when Leo gave us the net for a cylinder. The net for a cylinder looks something like this, right? So we have a rectangle for the lateral area or the side area, right? And we have two circles for the bases, the top and the bottom base. So if we can find the area for both of these circles, and we can find the area for this rectangle, that means we can find the total surface area. And that's what we're going to practice in the next video. Just a couple of things to practice the total surface area. And we're going to use that net page. So I want you to have this out so we can use that for the next video. This video was 4 minutes. The next one will be approximately 4 minutes too.